Welcome to the Up Podcast, raw real talk on everything young parenting.
From self-care, co-parenting, and family planning to balancing school, work, relationships, and goals.
Together, we're challenging society's assumptions and building a safe and supportive community for young parents.
One honest conversation at a time. So join us on the journey.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today is a very, very, very special day. Today we are celebrating our 1.5 anniversary. Clap it up, clap it up, clap it up, clap it up. Now, why are we celebrating our 1.5 year anniversary? Brandy, would you like to tell them why?
Because life. Our year anniversary was in April. And life and parenting and recording, and we forgot. We didn't even celebrate. So here we are, 18 months, like the parents would like to say.
And you better celebrate them wins, okay? Whether it's delayed or not, we better celebrate, okay?
Delayed but not denied, okay? We are going to celebrate. So join us for a celebration. Grab your sparkling cider, your coffee, whatever. We are talking about growth. We are talking about podcasting. We are talking about lessons learned. We are talking about the work and all the fun things. So this is going to be fun and this is going to be exciting. As always, I'm Brandy.
And it's Divine. So to start us off, let's jump in right into the podcast, y'all. It's been a 1.5 years. Does it feel like it? To you, Brandy?
Not at all. It doesn't. It's been a really fun, wild, ride.
Yeah, I'm here for it though.
It's fun. I mean, our growth, we went from posting 1 episode a month to 2 a month. We went from it just being us and us just figuring out what are we going to say? Who's going to do the intro? What's going to, what's what, to having guests on and having people request to be guests. And I mean, the amount of topics, I didn't even think that we could come up with as many topics as we've come up with. And so our platform is growing and it's exciting.
Yes. And we're so excited to bring you guys along on the ride. Please keep in tune with us. What do you want to see? What are we missing? Do you want to be on the podcast?
Please
come join us because clearly we don't get tired of talking.
No, we are toddlers. Our podcast is a toddler.
Okay.
I love that for us.
So what's your favorite episode so far, Brandy?
Oh my goodness. I have loved so many episodes. I loved having my mom on talking about mom guilt. I loved, all of the guests that we've had. But I think my favorite one, which is so weird to say, has been the milestones and discipline episode. I think that was a moment of growth. I think I had kind of a light bulb moment as a parent, just when it comes to discipline, when it comes to gentle parenting versus whatever other kind of parenting there is out there. And I think, I don't know, I feel like we walked away from that episode just feeling really good. Wow, we were really vulnerable. We had a lot of growth. We had a lot to say. Yeah. That was a really fun episode.
Yeah, I surprised myself. I feel like in parenthood, especially young parenthood, we hide so many things due to judgment and fear. And I feel like both of us were very open and vulnerable about real life stuff that everybody goes through. So it was definitely a learning experience, a growth moment for me. I mutually agree. That was my favorite episode by far. I feel like mainly because that is probably where I struggled the most with in my parenting is discipline, especially as a single parent. I'm always feeling like I'm playing both roles, mom and dad. And I'm trying to get out of that perspective because I feel like a tough parent and I don't want to come across as that. And I just actually wrote on the discussion forums recently about choosing like productivity and parenting. Choosing connection versus productivity, because we're always thinking
Mm,
we're not doing enough, we're not doing enough.
yeah,
And it's like, truth be told, our kids don't need us to do everything, they need
right.
us to be present. And I feel like that taps into discipline, being able to be present and maybe, you know, choose your battles wisely, or
Mhm.
take those deep breaths, So I feel like I can agree. And that's something I'm still working on. So
Yeah.
we can always bring that back
I know. But can we also talk about like I also really now that I'm thinking about it, we've had some really good episodes. Like our
up.
holiday Q&A, we need to run
Yeah.
that back this year. Just
Yeah.
kind of like answering y'all's questions and seeing, what's coming up. That was really fun. And then another really fun one has been these check-ins. Like we started to implement these check-ins and just to see like what were we up against at the beginning of the year and what was happening in the parenting space and what were some of our guests up against and where are we now. I think that those have been really fun too. So yes, give us more episode ideas, give us more of your thoughts, send us your questions because we're on this journey until the wheels fall off. Like we're really loving this. But
Yeah.
Divine, okay, so talking about podcasting because neither of us were podcasters. Like this was something that just was a light bulb moment one day when we were in a meeting, a team meeting, and we kind of ran with it. And so, not knowing, we didn't know, we had to research the lighting, we had to research, microphones and platforms and all these different things, and it was a lot. And
Yeah.
so, how do you feel like as a podcaster now? How has the podcast changed you? What's something that you are surprised by that you didn't really expect about the experience?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, a lot. Something that surprised me was really realizing not just that I'm such an oversharer, but realizing that like it's okay to be open and vulnerable. I feel like that is me at its core. And growing up into this adulthood, I've been like really traumatized in that area, and I've been super closed off. So it's allowing me to, get back to myself, reconnect with myself, and also like advocacy. And it definitely keeps me accountable in my parenting, especially when my daughter is in the background. She's like, I heard you talking about that. Like, better be practicing patience. I heard you
Right.
mention it to the parents. So my little one definitely keeps me in check. And it's refreshing for our children, to see us, modeling healthy communication, advocating for ourselves, discussing our feelings, and giving back to our own community. So that is something I appreciate the most. And what surprised me was just how comfortable I am being open and vulnerable.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think this podcast has helped me grow personally and professionally. And I think personally, believe it or not, I'm a very shy, very introverted, like
Mhm.
I'm talkative, but I have to be comfortable,
Yeah.
and I can be an oversharer, but mostly because I don't really have a lot of shame when it comes to a lot of things. I just kind of say them. But I think I've grown a lot and I've surprised myself at the amount of just comfort and vulnerability that I've been able to share, right? It feels like, I mean, y'all may or may not know this, but Divine and I have never ever met in person. And we've been working together for, I think, like 3 years or something like that. We've
Hold
never
on.
met in person,
Yeah.
but I truly feel like we are sisters. We are all the things, right? I truly feel
Auntie.
really, really connected. And so these conversations are easy. And even though we're in different stages of our parenting, there are so many overlaps. So the amount of conversations and the amount of relationship and community that happens on this podcast, I just am surprised. Like I'm surprised that I've had things to say. I'm surprised that I've been as open and bubbly and lively and not so scared and nervous to hear my own voice and to see my own face. And then I think professionally, just the networking. Like there's
Mhm.
Divine and I work in a space where we have a lot of community partners, but it's one thing to have a community partner that you meet with once or twice, right? And you all collaborate on a project. It's another thing to have people reach out to you to want to be on the podcast and figure out how can we co-brand? How can we support one another's communities? How can we, what questions do we ask to these professionals who have been in the field maybe way longer than us, right? How do we put ourselves on an even playing field and really collaborate on something? And I think it's stretched me, and it's helped me to grow, just in a lot of areas, and just to be confident in the work that we're doing and be confident in how to share it, and
Oh,
editing, posting, marketing,
yeah.
growth.
Yeah. 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 I mean, we give this podcast our all. Like, this is not our full time, y'all.
Right.
We give this our all. Blood, sweat, and tears are put in this, but it's so mutually benefiting. I love it here. And, as we continue to grow, our goals are continuously changing. So, yeah, I love it here. What are some of the goals and hopes you have for our podcast?
I have a lot. I want to reach more people. I think that we have something really special. There are tons of podcasts out there, but there are no podcasts out there that are for young parents specifically.
Yeah.
There are parenting podcasts, there are relationship podcasts, but there are none for young parents specifically. And even the few that may be out there, they are not by
Mhm.
um, young parents or former young parents, right? And so I think that we have a really special experience here that I would really want people to see. And I want more people, I want it to get out there more. I'd love for us to be able to scale. I'd love for us to be able to do more things, maybe do live podcasts one day, maybe, get in the studio together one day and just grow. I mean, I feel like I've been saying grow a lot this episode, but truthfully, in our toddlerhood of this this podcast, that's what I want for us. I want for us to just grow and get bigger, and not for fame and fortune, but just to kind of get more community. It's really great. We would love to have more people on the podcast, because every time we meet somebody, even in a virtual space, I feel so connected to them. I feel like they know my story, I know their story, and we are now in community, and I that's what it's all about.
Yeah, I mean, growth comes with change. And I feel like at the end of the day, that is our ultimate goal, making the biggest impact that we can. We are at a national level. I would love to reach every state, maybe get international one day. I would love to do some in person events and, take this worldwide, because these are real worldwide experiences and people need to hear about it.
Yeah, so true. So true. Okay, so it's no surprise, like I said, we've been talking about just growing and growth and all the things. And one thing that we really want to look at while we are in the final stretch of the year is really just kind of growth mindset, and what it means to grow in parenting, grow professionally, grow personally. I know some months back we had Justice on, and I think Divine, you mentioned that she had posted on her stories that she's getting her pink back, and I think that didn't resonate with me at that stage of the year. I was like, yes, good for you, amazing, I love that. And somebody said this on social media the other day, and they gave the actual explanation. And I think I didn't understand what get your pink back meant until they said it. And they said something along the lines of, like, female flamingos or something, after they have children, they turn white, like they lose their color and they turn white. And so then it's not until sometime later that they then get their pink back, they get their color back. And so the idea of just being a parent or being a mother or being whatever, and giving, and then kind of getting yourself back, I think when I think about growth, and when I think about growth mindset, and when I think about, that point of the year to this point of the year, the beginning of the podcast to this point of the podcast, it really is, this has been a moment, and lots of moments, to be able to just kind of figure out who we are. What do we love? What are the things that we struggle with in parenting? What are some of the things that we want to grow, areas we want to grow in? Who are we outside of being parents? And so, looking at growth mindset, that really is just it's a way for us to take our thoughts, our feelings, our experiences, and speak positivity and life into them, right? So an example of that is, there's a difference between that and like a fixed mindset, and we won't go into all of that, but the difference of that is, I was a terrible parent last week and I yelled and screamed, and now my kid is going to hate me forever and I'm never going to be able to recover, right? That's very fixed. It's just kind of like, this is what it is. This is the experience. It's never going to get better. Whereas a growth mindset is like, yesterday was tough. My kid and I were going toe to toe, but today's a new day and I can show up differently in my parenting. And here is where I want to be, right? And so thinking through growth mindset and just kind of growth in parenting and in life. How have you been forced to grow? How have you grown? Where have you seen growth show up in your life?
That's a good question. I feel like in so many ways, I feel like once you know something is not working, you gotta give it up, try something else. And that is so hard to do when you're in survival, when change doesn't seem realistic. And when you're just so comfortable in your own ways and what may have worked for you. And I feel like parenting is all about change. One day things will work, the next day it may not. And it's all about, how quick you can, jump back on your feet again. And that is something that is super easier said than done, struggle with on a daily. But honestly, my child has, forced me to grow, keeping myself accountable, knowing that, if I expect change out of her and, I'm this authoritative figure, then I also need to model that. I also need to take the steps, and I need to not just walk the walk, but not just talk the talk, but walk the walk, and,
Right.
doing both. So I feel like in my disciplinary, I've had to change personal habits. I've had to change, and just accepting the fact that I can't do all the things that I used to do or the things that I maybe want to do, but knowing that I can't be like everybody else, and not everybody else is like me.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say definitely changing my mindset has been a big thing. I'm big in, prayer and manifestation and just believing what's for me, will be mine. And, I claim that. But, it's hard. And someone who's personally struggled with anxiety and depression all my life, it's not easy to just, change your thought right away or reframe your thinking. Especially when you practice that as a coping, that is a coping mechanism, sitting in pain, constantly replaying back those things. And that is something that kind of loops in my head. I always have like ruminating thoughts, and just practicing, your change of language, the power that your tongue has, the power that your brain has, and just claiming what's for you is for you, and believing that it will be, and just not giving up on that hope. So I feel like definitely my mindset has had to change in order for me to, see the greener grass on the other side.
Yeah.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
That's true. Um, Mindset, I mean, our minds control everything, right? And it gives us so much information. We have so much input and output in our minds, but the problem is that it's not all true. It's
Yeah.
some of it is
Don't give it the
rooted not
power.
right. It's
That
not
was the problem.
rooted in fact. And so I think one thing I love to always do is check in. I do this, with like therapy clients, and I do this just with myself too, is check in with whatever is happening in my body, right? So if I've talked about this before, of just kind of feeling like if I'm feeling really tense in a certain place, or if I'm tapping, or if I'm feeling like whatever, then I need to check in on what that means. And I think that this year, the last, year and a half or so, has really opened my eyes to a lot of different things. Like I felt like I was parenting in fear. Fear, like obviously in survival mode, but fear that some of my own triggers and traumas and past life experiences would trickle down to my daughter, fear that she would feel less than because she's being raised by a single parent, fear that I wouldn't be able to provide all the things I needed to do, fear that she would be in for years and years and years of therapy as a result of my parenting. And here's the thing, I encourage therapy. Like, if she needs to be in therapy, great. But I think that the fear was that, like, she would have to sit there and grapple with me or something that she was lacking or something that she wasn't getting. And so I feel like I was always overcompensating, which is has been really draining, right? Trying to make sure that I'm keeping up with the Joneses, trying to make sure that she, even when, because in teenagehood, y'all, it is for sure a hood, right? Teenagers really don't, what I've learned is they really don't want you to fix it, whereas toddlers do. Like, they're like, here, I have a boo boo, fix it, right? Teenagers are like, I have a boo boo, I just want you to know it and let me have my own process. And so it's a really interesting shift as a parent, because I'm like, I feel like in the stage that we're in, I'm okay, I've got this
Starting
down. I
all
figured
over.
this out. I'm a good mom again. Like, I'm back regulated. I'm back being a good mom. And then we enter another stage and I'm like, wait, but I'm still doing the same things I was doing yesterday. And now that doesn't work for you. And so constantly, like you talk about a mindset shift, I think there's constantly a shift of just being able to recognize that, like, we can't parent through fear. We can't parent through experiences. I will tell y'all, because we talked about being vulnerable a couple weeks ago, I found like an old diary or something that I had, and it didn't have a lot of entries. So I think I had multiple diaries, but there was one particular one. And some of the things that were in there, I was like, I remember this time in my life, it feeling like it was so heavy and so dark and so big. And the things that I was writing, and I was so like deep in my emotion. And when I look back on it as an adult, I'm like, okay, it wasn't that deep, like, those things were not actually that. That was definitely my just kind of teenage brain gassing it up to me. And so then it made me think, like, oh, some of these things are the same sorts of things that my daughter is up against, or she's thinking about, or she's, sharing with me. And it was an aha moment to me, because nobody was talking to me at that
About
time.
your
It
feelings.
just wasn't something that people did. Teachers weren't checking in, family wasn't checking. Like, it just wasn't something that you did. And so nobody was checking in, nobody was like keeping tabs on, hey, you look a little sad today, at least not to my memory. Whereas with my daughter, I'm like in her, in her face all the time. What, your eyes look a little red. They look, have you been crying? What's going on? Why are you crying? And almost to a fault, because she's like, back up, leave me
Yes.
alone. Like, I just need to just be in my moment. But for me, it's important that I can't, I cannot be so afraid about the things that she's gonna face that I try and take those things away, because the reality is that I can't take them away, right? But what I can do is like remind her, you are loved, you are not alone. This is going to pass. This is normal developmentally, all of the things that I think we or I didn't necessarily hear or get, because it wasn't messaging that was out there. And so that was a long roundabout way of saying, I think the growth and the mindset shift is really like, I cannot control every single thing. No, I don't ever want to see my baby cry. I never did. I didn't want her to fall and cry. I'm like, pick you up, stop crying, shh, whatever. But the reality is like, the tears and the scars and the bumps and the bruises are
Make
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that I'm a bad parent. And actually, as I enter this next phase of my parenting, as she's like in high school and there's 4 more years and all these things, like, instead of looking back on all the mistakes that I feel like I've made, my mindset is shifting to, how can I show up for the next 4 years and really make an impact and not be held to my past self, but now show up as my new, healthy, healed,
Yeah.
pink self.
Yeah, that's so real. And I mean, when you really think about it, you don't have a choice. Life is constantly moving forward, and you don't have a choice but to move with it, if you want to go in the right direction. And I feel like as parents, always checking in on our mental health, it's like we don't even have the time realistically to even dwell on mistakes, because at the end of the day, it is out of our control and we cannot go back and change them. It's about what can you do with that knowledge? What can you do with that lesson that you learned, and how can you implement it in your daily life now and moving forward. So yeah. And I really don't feel like it's talked about enough of how we put those faces on when it's not in us right now, because we can't expect every day for us to just put on this growth mindset. Realistically,
Yeah.
we're human beings, we have bad days, and what we carry is heavy. All of the things that you've talked about, it's a heavy load, and when you don't have anyone to drop that load on, you have to sit with it, and that requires days of silence, days of regulation, however long that may take for you. But how do we make it look easy when it's not? Like, how do we not involve our children in that, not putting those burdens on them, and but also like being realistic, letting them know that it's okay to not always be smiling and happy and just in the best of moods when reality is crumbling around you. How do we model that for our kids when we don't necessarily feel like it?
Yeah. I mean, I think the short answer is not necessarily to how we model it, because we do, and I'll answer that. But I think how we keep it all together, how we make it look easy,
Yeah.
I think the short answer is we don't.
Yeah.
I think I learned that back in COVID, and I've probably shared this story before, but I remember there was this distinct moment where we were home, we're always home. And so I really started to realize that my daughter was just not really vulnerable. She was really
Mm.
guarded with her feelings and over, some seemingly minor things. And it dawned on me, like, she's never seen me cry.
Mm.
I've never been vulnerable in front of her. So how would she ever even know? Right. And so I think that the short answer again is that we don't make it look easy,
Mm.
and that we just are authentic without putting things on them, right? We never want kids to think that it's their fault or that they have attributed to this in any way. But I think just being really honest, I think in this stage of parenting, I've been able to be really honest with my daughter. And
Mm.
I will tell you, and even honest when I've made mistakes. So one thing that she likes to say often is, she tells me that, well, if I don't do this, you're gonna, bring it up later, or you're gonna, you're telling me now that I don't have to do X, Y, and Z, but if I don't, then I know that you're gonna bring it up
Mm.
over and over and over again later. And so clearly you want me to do it. Right. And one thing that I had to realize, and it's been months of her kind of saying this, right? And so when she said it, I had to realize that, wow, I do that. And so I
Mm.
need to, if I say, you don't need to, or it's your choice, or whatever, I have to truly mean it. I can't follow it up with, but I think this could be a good idea, or, but I think just it's your choice, right? And leave it at that, because what she doesn't trust that,
Mm.
because for all of these years it's been, but, or, okay, no, you don't have to, clean that thing up. And then later on, see, room is always a mess, or whatever it is. And I can like humbly say that now, that that was a flaw in my parenting. I didn't know any different, right? But and I didn't even notice that I was doing it. And so one thing that I think in line with that is I'm constantly reminding her, your mom is always trying to grow, right? I'm always trying to do better. It's been quite a while since you've experienced me in that way. So I've just flat out asked, like, please don't hold me to who I was.
Yeah.
Let me continue to prove to you who I am. Right.
Yeah.
And so just those reminders, I think that shows that it's okay to be a different version of yourself. It's so you don't have to be held to who you were. You don't have to be held to the mistakes that you made. You don't have to be held to
Mm.
the parenting choices that you made or the blow up that you had last week. You can show up every single day and
Yeah.
commit to a new way of parenting every single day until it becomes habit. And that's also okay. And reminding our kids that, like, you can trust this version, and you can call me out when I'm not being that version, right? Like, you can say, hey, mom. Sometimes she'll try and throw it back, like, what you said that you were going to do this, you weren't going to yell. And then I have to remind her, well, yes, but there was like kind of you know there's layers to that, because if I asked you 17 times
Mhm.
and you purposely didn't
Mhm.
acknowledge it, then
Awesome.
in my head, you're actually wanting me to raise my voice because you had 17 chances, to either respond, to acknowledge it, or whatever. And so I think that there's a give and take, but I think that that shows accountability, right? So I think that we don't. I think that we don't hold it all together. I think my child has seen me cry a lot lately. And sometimes it is just, she come to me and be like, Mom, why are you crying? And I have to fight back the urge to be like, I'm fine. But just to say, you know what, I'm really overwhelmed right now. I'm
Mhm.
really overwhelmed with all the things that I have to do. And I think having maybe, the thing that set us over the edge was conflict that we had. And having this conflict is really challenging because I really love you, and I really want you to know how much I love you and how much I do not want to have conflict with you, right? And so, I mean, she has heard me crying, right? Like just like full blown, and she's come, and that again, I have committed to not hiding that side of myself because it does nothing but teach her that she should hide her feelings. So I didn't fully answer your question, but I think again, we just don't.
No,
We're going.
that's a very valid point. And I feel like that is where the challenge comes from, trying to find that balance. I feel like everything I always say is like on a spectrum, is just give and take at all times. And sometimes that can get confusing as
Yeah.
a parent, questioning, are you doing the right thing? Is this going to have any kind of effect? And I think that's where the fear comes in.
Mhm.
But I think what you said about just getting reality checks, like we all need a reality check, especially if growth is important to you. And I mean, everyone can get something out of growth. Like no one is limited, to
Yeah.
growing. And I feel like who better to see where you can grow at than going right to the source. And sometimes we may not want to hear it. I know
Mhm.
I definitely don't, because my child will give it to me. She'll exaggerate. She will make me.
Right.
She will give it to me. Okay, she hold me back. But honestly, that is the only person that we should essentially be impressing.
Yeah.
Not what our parents think, our in-laws. So the social society.
Right.
How can we be better parents for our children? Because
Mhm.
our children are ours. We're not parenting anyone else. Our kids are our kids, and every
Mhm.
kid is different. But those reality checks really keep you accountable. And my daughter does not hesitate to tell me about myself. And similar to what you said, it just models, to our kids as well, that, they don't have to hold themselves to the mistakes that they made, that
Right.
we're both growing. Did you make a mistake that led me to making a mistake? And also, like, I'm not pointing the finger, but things have consequences, and
Right.
now it's about how can we navigate them without being stuck in that scenario. But that's so important. It's good for ourselves, it's good for our children.
Mhm.
And you're not the only one experiencing that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, so many parents are out here trying to balance that, because I feel like parenting has humbled me to the core.
Mhm.
And we get so ashamed by things that happen in our household, like, don't take our business out in the streets and on
Mhm.
stuff. But like,
Mhm.
it's so real, and like other people are going through it. And I feel like talking about it out loud is just so healing in itself, because you're able to reflect. And I think when you don't give yourself those chances, that is kind of how you become that product of your environment, and just stuck on that running motion. But to kind of jump into not being alone and community, they are who we lean on, our community. Brandy, I lean on you so much in your experiences. I learned so much. We're in different stages, and you've already kind of experienced the stage I'm in. So to get that support from you is so fulfilling to me,
Mhm.
especially because your intentions are pure. And I feel like, why not come to our community? Don't nobody know what we going through better than us.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Our community is free. So if y'all did not know, get your free account on Yup.
Yeah.
We're here for you. There's discussion forums of parents constantly asking questions, needing advice, and
Right.
mutually giving back, advice and support. So if you're going through something similar or off topic, put it out there. There's nothing, off limits to talk about in the community. We are literally only human, and we need each other. I
Right.
need Brandy.
I need you too. I need you too. I think, yes, I think you're absolutely right. I think you know, everybody needs to just know that they're not alone, no matter what it is. Sometimes I had a parent tell me the other day that they don't feel like their child understands the concept of time, and they're a teenager and they obviously know time, right? But she just like, everything is so slow. Everything takes forever. We're always late, whatever. And it's like, okay, that is like happening in your household. It's happening in my household. It's happening in everybody's household. Okay, you tell them to pick up their clothes. They don't pick up their clothes. Okay, that happens in every household, not just my household. I think that just knowing that you're not alone is absolutely important. And that's so cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
And we want to talk to other people. I want to talk to people who have a shared experience. I don't want to talk to people who are just going to give me, oh, sunshine and roses. Like, it's going to be okay. This will pass. Be grateful. All this stuff. Yes, I'm grateful. I know that this will pass, all the things. But in this very moment, because I am a single woman who doesn't have somebody to bounce all of this stuff off with at the end of the day, I want to be able to just have a raw, real moment with y'all, with Divine, with whoever, about what was happening that day, right? And then after I get that out, then it gives me the opportunity to just move on about my day. It's not because I need anyone to fix it. I don't need a reminder that it's going to be okay. I just need to be able to word vomit it out, you know? So I feel like we do that. Yes, I feel like we do that a lot. Like, okay, let's just take 10 minutes to just, what's happening today? Okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. Okay, all right, so now on to the next thing, right? And so you're absolutely right. Use our community, use us. Shoot, come on here. We can just have a tell all, confessional, whatever on here about what we're feeling. But I just want to kind of switch back a little bit, because one thing, you recorded some videos like way a long time ago on the website where you talked about affirmations and how you incorporated affirmations in your own life and in your parenting with your daughter and all the things. And I think affirmations can be are a really good tool when it comes to growth mindset, right? Because it's telling yourself, I am proud, I am beautiful, I am strong, I am brave, I am all the things. And then the more that we say it, the more that we believe it. And so I'm just kind of wondering how affirmations kind of play a role now. And if not, how are we incorporating self care? How are we incorporating just kind of positive self talk, even on the tough days, right? Because we talk a lot about parenting, and that's really special to us. But that is our relationship to our children. And I think I would love for us to kind of, round this episode off and like, how are you showing up for yourself?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a really good question. Something that is constantly, again, changing. I feel like, my self care always looks different, what I need in the moment. Lately, my self care has been traveling, exploring, gaining new perspectives, gaining new experiences and cultures. But affirmations, I feel like, will forever be a huge thing in my life. Sometimes you gotta live in delusion. Okay. Delusion drives me sometimes.
Uh-huh.
And you're preparing yourself. It's all preparation, it's all practice. To be who you want to be at the end of the day. It gives you something to look forward um, to just not lose hope and not let go of the vision, because things are going to change. Your timeline may change, may not go straight, may take a couple loops in here, but just keeping your eye on the prize and just going back to, like, every day is a new day kind of a thing. That is really what motivates my self-care, what motivates my affirmations. And it's just also like a reminder to yourself that, like, don't get discouraged. Like, that did not change you. You are still great. Like, you are still wise. You are still learning, and being able to really get to know yourself on another level. And, sometimes people just think they are who the world says that they are. And that's not true. You are who you want to be. And this gives you the opportunity to practice that, because you're not just, going to wake up and be this new person, but who said you can't? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I may be another person tomorrow. I may be another person in the next hour.
Okay.
Okay. But no,
Yeah.
seriously, it holds you accountable. And it's something so light that, it doesn't take much to do. And
Right.
sometimes it can start off hard because it may not feel like your truth at the
Right.
moment. But
Yeah.
it's not something that you can't achieve, or you can't have, that you
Mm-hmm.
you don't deserve to be who you are. Like, again, I said, you can be whoever you sought out to be. You can achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve, and you can change your mind too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I change my mind constantly. um but yeah, I feel like affirmations, it lets me live in delusion, but it also allows me to be bold and brave. It
Mm-hmm.
allows me to do things differently. It allows me to say, take that risk, like, okay, I'll just try it. And
Yeah.
it ends up working out. And if it doesn't work out, try again.
Yeah.
But it's a way of my living. It's a way of, doing what you said, and
Mm-hmm.
keeping to it.
Mm-hmm. Accountability.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing I would just say for anybody who struggles with that, because sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror, and it doesn't always have to be an affirmation in the mirror, but sometimes it's hard to look in the mirror and believe the things about yourself that you're speaking. Just like you said, divine. And sometimes you just don't feel it. You feel like you're just going through the motions. And so, one thing I would say is a tip is start by calling out the negative thought, right?
Mhm.
So, if a negative thought comes to your head, if a negative thought comes to my head, like, oh my gosh, I am never gonna achieve this thing because I did this thing. I just
Mhm.
call that out. The thought, it just kind of lived rent free in my house. And so I'm in my head, not in my house, in my head. But I just call it out, right? Thank you for the thought, but it's irrelevant.
It doesn't have to live there.
Right. And so I think with that, then you start to develop this, you really understand yourself. And so you're able to talk yourself down from the things rather than believing what your brain says to you, believing whatever. You're able to call it out and be like, well, that's not really true. Or to be honest, another moment of vulnerability, there are times where I have these really like kind of just racing, like rampant thoughts. And then I'm like, oh, my period's about to start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Stupid luteal phase, like fine.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's part of it, that this actually is not based on any truth. But I think calling it out, it you can start to trick yourself, or help yourself to realize what's true and what's not true. And then it'll start to help you to understand what's true. Like what I have said, I'm strong a year ago, probably. But what I have said, something like, you are capable and you are, on the right track or whatever, maybe not. Right. And so, will I say that today? Yeah, because the thoughts that I had that told me that I was not capable or I was not on the right track or whatever, I've already confronted those and realized that that's actually not based in anything but maybe insecurity, or what society says success is, or what society says capability is. And the reality is, I'm capable enough, you know?
Yeah, and who said that to be true? If it's people
Mhm.
telling you that, whether it's you telling you that, like, you don't have to believe that lie. And also being cautious who you allow give you advice too. That is
Right.
something I had to learn. Not everybody can, with well intention, really feed into you. Some people have
Yeah.
malicious thoughts, some people project. That's a big thing. A lot of people project
Mhm.
their own fears and insecurities on you. And it's like, my biggest thing was giving those thoughts or a scenario, giving it power. That is something
Mhm.
that I had to work on, of just like letting go, not letting things stick with me, hold grudges, things like that. But like, you don't have to give it power. If you have the capability of giving that power, you have the capability of giving something else power. And just reclaiming your own power and just saying like, you don't run my world. And because at the end of the day, I always see, I don't know if it's word for word like this, but like, nobody is coming to save you. That is so true. Ain't no one doing them dishes. Ain't no one
Right,
gonna do
right,
that laundry but you. So if you
right.
need to stop and refill your cup, if you need to do your affirmations or whatever that self-care looks like for you, do it. Because at the end of the day, you need to be the one, you know, taking care of all your responsibilities in the day. And I just think that's super important, especially in parenthood when you may not feel like you get breaks. You got to take them. Let them
Take
dishes
them.
pile up.
Yep, exactly. Let
Yeah.
them pile up. Let yourself do whatever it is that you need to do. And don't feel bad about it. I mean, I think I said this before and I stand by this. Go get the dessert.
Mm.
And even if your kid sees the wrapper and questions you about it, don't feel bad about it.
And did.
Yep. I did this a couple weeks ago and my child was so offended. I'm like, you were
Girl.
with your grandparents, you had the time of your life, you had all the things that you I don't even need to be explaining myself, but I'm allowed to get a whole thing of cookies and bake them when I choose. I'm
Mm.
allowed to get something and not share it with you. And I will. And that's something that I learned literally in the last like few months. I would
Wow.
feel so bad about it. I would hide it. I would like do it
Mm.
real quick and then hide the evidence. And now I'm like, nope. Just
Nope.
yesterday, my child was like, oh, can I, bake some of the cookies in there? I was like, there's only one left. And she said, one? I said, yeah, one. She said, where'd the rest of them go? I said, well, I burnt one whole set. You saw that. And I had some on my own. And she's like, what? You had some outside of when we had them together? Yep. And I
And you
did.
know what? Sometimes self-care is as simple as saying no.
Yep.
You can say no, and there's so much power and healing in
Mhm,
that.
mhm.
Not picking
Yep.
something if you don't need to.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, we said it, we talked a lot. We talked a lot about growth. We are growing. This is so exciting. This might like top the cake as one of the favorites, right? Just to reflect on the growth, it's
Yeah.
so healing and it's
Yeah.
so uplifting
Empowering.
and it's
Yeah.
so empowering and it's so exciting because
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, I where were we a year and a half ago? Where are we going to be in a year and a half from now, right? I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about some of the new stuff coming up for Yup. So we'll be talking about that. But in the next 6 months to a year, we have a lot of new cool stuff, new content, new opportunities popping up. Maybe a new app. Wink, wink. We're gonna have to see. You'll
Stay
be
tuned.
surprised. So stay tuned. As always, please let us know if you want to be on the podcast, if you want to record content, if you want to partner with us, if you're an organization and you want to have us on something or have us connect with us in some way, if you're a young parent and you want to be paid for some work or for some stuff or for sharing your story, please let us know because we want to have you on and we I know in our intro and our outro and all the things we talk about, join us on the journey, but truthfully, a part of our growth is to grow and to expand and to have more people on the journey. It shouldn't, my hope and dream is not that it's Divine and I walking off into the sunset swinging hands, right? My dream is that there is a collective of young parents and organizations and people who are doing the work, who are parents, who are in the space, who feel similar ways, and we are all walking down the path, walking off into the sunset together, right? So join us. Don't be afraid to reach out. Please, 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 please. And we will see you on the next episode. I don't know.
With much love always, please come and be a part of the journey. Like Brandy said, we want to pass the baton off. We want to pass the microphone off. We want to hear more voices, more perspectives, and we want to learn more from you because me and Brandy do not have it all together. We don't know it all. So come teach us some tips and tricks and parenting advice. We would love to hear from you all.
Yeah.
So until next time.
Bye, y'all.
If you enjoyed the Up podcast, please subscribe, share, and leave a comment.
And visit youngunitedparents.org for the information, community, and resources young moms and dads need to thrive.